Hey folks, welcome to our latest episode of Clan from the Stands. We are after a short summer hiatus with summer holidays, we're back and delighted to be back. Do you know why? Because we are now almost in August, boys, and we can almost smell it. We can almost you can almost grab it and reach it, right? Hockey's coming back, which we're delighted about. Um, so yeah, good to see you all. Phil, Colin looking nice and summer like me. Chris looking like you're in some kind of dungeon somewhere. So hopefully they've not captured you in the kingdom there. And they finally found out that you're a spy and they've actually captured you there, mate. I hope not. How you doing, Chris? Are you good?
I'm good, man. Actually, I meant to say to you there was a wee story before we went any further, right? And it was my wife is telling me that in a school in Glenrothes, right? Now, for anybody that doesn't know, Glenrothes is about a few miles above Kirkcaldy, right? So anyway, there was this wee boy in the school, right, walking about secondary school in Glenrothes with a Glasgow Clan hoodie on, and I
Wow.
thought, kudos to that boy. Know what I mean?
I
I mean,
love that.
all the way up in five shy with a Glasgow Clan hoodie on. I mean,
I
how
love to
good is
see
that?
I love to see that, Chris. Love to see it. Clan fans are everywhere. Phil, how are you, mate? You looking well?
I'm good, mate. Very good. Uh, Excited. Can almost taste that. It's
Mate, it's
we're on the
there.
cusp, so aye, feeling good. Watched quite a few of the interviews and that, just to get up to date, and I got my juices flowing, mate. I'm not
That's
going to
it.
lie.
That's it. Yeah, what were you calling? How are you, mate?
Aye, this is my happy face. So yeah, this is about as good as it's getting. But
That's it.
yeah, I
Calling
re-
the
it
Western
is.
bitch face. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
pretty much. It feels like it was only a couple of weeks ago it stopped. But yeah, it's been quite a quick summer, I would say. Yeah, we're not far away again, and then we're back at it and
That's it.
watching what we enjoy. So yeah, fingers
Well,
crossed.
good stuff. We've got a lot to get through, so we're going to keep it pretty simple, folks. We're gonna need to get update with the signings. I feel like at least one of them. I was like, when did we sign this guy? I've been on holiday, so I was like, geez, how did I? Because again, I tend to stay off my phone a bit more when I'm on holiday. Just which was yeah. So that caught me by surprise. But yeah, it's pleased to see we've almost got a full roster. We think there could, yeah, maybe a few more to come in, but the roster's certainly taking shape and it's very interesting. We will talk about, we have some returning players, some new players, some players that have played in the league before. So we'll give our thoughts on that, and then we'll get into there's obviously, as always with Clan, there's some off ice stuff that we'll have to talk about that is topical. And yeah, I think that will probably take care of the episode tonight as we start to look forward to the pre-season tour. Clan being back in Germany again, which is great, and start to hopefully get a first look at the team and see what we think, and see our expectations start to build as they always do. So let's start with the roster. Maybe we should start with returning players, right? So we have had some returning players now. Phil, I'm going to come to you first in this because there's been some interesting news in returning players. I think maybe not what Phil was hoping for. He was maybe hoping for certainly at least one different name in that mix. So I think we did announce, and I'm trying to remember the last time we spoke, but certainly Martinet's back. I don't know if he was back, announced by the time we came last time. Felix Pare is back, which was an interesting one. I think I don't know if the Dove have been telling us, or maybe not the Dove, but we heard rumors that maybe Fife he could end up in Fife or somewhere else within the league, maybe in one of the other Scottish teams. Um, yeah, I think Lakovic is back as well, but he's got a bit of an elevated role. Um, Liam Finlay didn't make it back though, Phil, did he?
You never, mate. I
He
was
didn't, mate.
pretty sad to hear that. Uh, it was really just in a entertainment on match night, kind of. That was more for the reasons. I know his numbers weren't the best, as Colin had pointed out a few times to me, but he was, for me, like, it was the only guy that really got me excited
Hmm.
on match nights, out with Mitchell Herd. Like, for the actual excitement factor, he was probably top of my list. Obviously, I love Mitchell Herd in Matrix mode. Those moments were like really, really good to watch. But it was just the speed of the wee guy and all that sort of jazz. But anyway, he's away. It no longer concerns me. I'm a clan man. He's no longer a clan man. So we look forward to
Picture
the.
him over your right shoulder.
Aye.
Sorry.
You've got a picture of him over your right shoulder.
Aye. That's how fast he was.
There you go. That's it. You tell him. Listen,
Um,
Phil, you said that I thought I excited you a little bit of match night. I don't know. I feel like you've said that to me once after a few beers, but maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, I don't take
we
offense
must have been winning if I said
to
that.
But no, all joking aside, I mean, let's talk about Finlay briefly, and then we'll get to. I want to reflect, and we'll get some reaction to the players that have returned, right? So we do know, and it seems like we now know all of the returning players. Chris, Liam Finlay. I'm not going to say much. I'm with Phil. I liked him. I know that there's criticism of end product, but I think he brought something different. I'm a little bit surprised that he's not back. But again, like a lot of the players, I'm not devastated either. What's your view, Chris, in terms of Finlay not being back?
Yeah, I think I kind of badge him and McClellan in the same bracket, to be honest with you. When you're actually defending, it's, they're just too small, basically, and just the end product just wasn't there. And for me, they're just synonymous with, a team that's going to finish in the lower half of the league. If you really want to improve, then you need to be doing better than both McClellan and Finlay, in my opinion.
Okay, Colin. Oh no, so Phil, go on, yeah.
That's just on that. Like you can't just kibosh somebody because they're small. There is small guys like have done it. Like Conley has done it in this league, dominated
Hmm.
in this league.
Okay, but Finlay never
Clever.
did it, Phil. So
Sorry,
Finlay never was no Connolly. You
I
know what I
know,
mean?
but
So.
you can't. It wasn't because of his size, is what I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough, mate. But I guess what I was talking about when you're defending and you're relying on guys like Finlay and McClellan on the back check, and then you're centred by Uli. I mean, there's just
Yeah,
zero physicality
yeah.
there
That
whatsoever, and I guess that was more my point.
see that that was a bad move by Corey having him and McClelland on the same line. And I
But
think
that's what they're signed for. They were signed for that reason because they played together before.
yeah, I know, but he
Loads
made
of times.
clearly he made an arse of that. Clearly, putting
Yeah.
them both, and then also with Cole Uli. No, that wasn't a very defensive minded line.
That's true. Colin, I want to come to you with the other guys. So I think the interesting talking point, I think look, Lacko is. I don't think anyone's going to complain. I don't think there's much to talk about there. I think everyone's happy having him back. He's got a bit of an elevated role. That's good. I'm hoping we maybe see more of the Lacko we saw the season before Corey came, where his production was higher. He doesn't seem to have that role, but nobody's going to be upset. I don't think about that. The other two are interesting though. So we do have Martinet and Parry, and some people kind of go. Martinet was all right.
Mm.
People going, Martinet was a bit anonymous, and not that impressed by him. And Parry, that Felix Parry had like the odd moment. I mean, hardworking, like definitely a hardworking player, definitely a grinder, down the lower lines. I just wanted to get your reaction on those two returning particularly. Are you underwhelmed by that, or do you think it kind of makes sense to have those guys back in?
Martinet kind of surprised me a little bit. Like, don't get me wrong, he wasn't bad, but he wasn't great either. Right now, that's maybe not a good or a bad thing. He was a big guy, did okay, but would have preferred somebody a bit better, possibly. But then again, he came in halfway through the season, didn't he? So are they expecting more from him in a second season? But again, I don't know. So that one's kind of up in the air for me. The Harry one, again, that one for me was I was more surprised at him coming back purely for the fact that Corey always seemed to like a tough guy, right? And when you look at some of the older coaches that are coming back into the league, like Thompson and other bits and pieces, like you have now guys at Cardiff that can fight. Fife have now signed an out and out bums on seats guy that will scrap. Parry isn't an out and out fighter. He's a guy that fights when he kind of has to, but he's also not great either. So for me, if we were going to put money into somebody like that, I would have preferred it to be somebody a little bit tougher, like a proper fourth liner that will come on, crash and bash, and do what he has to do and create havoc, really. But he is a hard worker, there's no doubt about that, and he does a lot in the penalty kill. So again, I'm more surprised at him coming back than Martinet. Martinet was a kind of meh for me. It's much a muchness. But I'll almost correct myself. but we wanted better from the defence. And if you look at it at the moment, we've only got one different D man than we did last year.
I was about to say the same thing.
Import D. So to kind of correct my kind of meh comment, we shipped a lot of goals and defensively we were poor at times last year. So unless the extra import D and maybe potentially another one or two real big names, don't know. I'm undecided, but yeah, I don't know if that made much sense in my response.
No,
But
no, 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 it did, it did. I think it's a tough one. Phil, are you aligned like those two, those two players particularly like you line with it's a bit meh, or certainly the D does concern me more than the forward fraternity. Maybe once again, and I want to get Chris's view because he was concerned last year.
Yeah.
But what do you think, Phil?
I think we'll start with Paddy. I'd said it in the group chat, and I think it was Scott, young Scott, had agreed with me. Like I would have I'd have spun the wheel for the Paddy position. There's a million Paddies out there, so I would have liked to have seen us take a chance on somebody else. At least you've got a hope of getting somebody that. I mean, Parry wasn't really good at anything apart from throwing hits. I think he was quite penalty prone as well, wasn't he, Colin?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're
yeah, sorry, I muted myself. Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, I would have took a risk and probably went elsewhere. Corey did say when he spoke about him that it was a role a role player.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm taking for that he's had a word with him and he's basically there to hit and fight, and that's pretty much it because he only scored one goal last year, so he's not there to be our talisman in any way, shape, or form.
he didn't actually. He's got 11 points, so he scored 6 goals last year and 5 assists, but he's got 38 penalty minutes now. For me, fourth liner or someone that is there to do the kind of dirty work, his penalty minutes are actually quite low.
Aye,
Yeah, it's all
yeah,
right.
38,
Yeah,
38 minutes. That's
I don't mind
that's
that
what.
though. I don't need him to
No,
take.
I'm not arguing that. Again, it's that role where you've got a guy that's got to do the dirty work, like hit, do all that kind of stuff. You expect his penalty minutes, even a fighter, to be a little bit higher. So
yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
for me,
Finley's minutes were probably much, much higher than that.
yeah, I think he was actually. But what I would say, just my last point on it, is that Parry, for what he did do, like he bust his arse. I mean, he was not a guy that would slouch, but there was some time last year that when we were down, we needed something to ignite the crowd and go and do something. And we didn't have enough of that last year. Like I'm seeing guys that are signing throughout the league this year that if teams are getting beat, somebody will go and ruffle feathers or do something to actually get things back up. But the type of player that they're signing, a few of them, I mean, we can use the guy Fife have signed, that wee midget, but they've also got like guys in Cardiff and dotted around now that'll kind of ruffle a bit of it. We needed that last year when we were down 3 or 4 goals. We needed someone to come out and create a spark, and that's normally that guy's kind of role, and it didn't really happen. So for me, I'm kind of I'm neither up nor down. I was more surprised at the Parry thing. Martinet, again, when we shipped more goals, the two of them in both sides of the story, they're probably two that you would have maybe spun the wheel on.
Yeah, Phil, what do you
See,
think with Martin then? What do you think?
see Martin, like, he never done anything wrong. Like much that I remember, and I was at most of the home games. So it was hard to judge him because he was just kind of getting into it and the season was finishing. Whereas Parry, you could say he done nothing all season until probably the last quarter. And that's how he's actually got his contract, probably for what he done in that last quarter. Because if he'd played the last quarter the way he did the first three, I don't think he would have been back at all. So Corey's probably says to him, that's what I was expecting for you all year. And he really did pull his socks up the last kind of 8 to 10 games. So if we get that, if that's the party we're getting, then I'm okay with that. And with Big Martinet, I'm just going to give the guy a chance. He never done anything that made me hate him or
Yeah.
dislike him. So I'm going to give him every chance.
Chris, what were you on the D side of things, mate? Because I think, look, last year you called it. You definitely were very yeah, skeptical of the quality of the D and depth as well, right? You felt we're light in depth. Right now we're sitting there. I think we're at 5D, so like 4 returning and 1 new player. So obviously Dupree's not returning. We've got the new boy in, but do you feel better this year, or do you feel much the same?
I'm much the muchness, Ross, to be honest with you. I'm still to be convinced, especially on D. I mean, I think in terms of looking at the parry side of things, Martinet, I remember having a fantastic game against Sheffield in the playoffs, but everyone did in that home game, I guess. So, as long as he's not too expensive, then take him as maybe a third line pairing, whatever it might be. Parry, listen, I don't have an issue with your fighter being a fourth line guy, a relatively inexpensive guy who's going to throw a lot of checks, doesn't necessarily score that many points, but you know what? I'd rather him fight than
So hard.
Mitch Herd. You know what I mean? So that's the way I look at it. And the league, in terms of not fighting much last year, I think the league has toughened up a little bit in terms of signings around the league. So there is going to be more opportunity, and certainly more opportunity against the likes of Five Flyers. But yeah, this additional import D is going to have to be a really good one. I have got my reservations over the new guy who's got all the big league experience and stuff like that, but he's averaged 14 games a season over the last 5 seasons. I mean, I remember, I think it was season 4 or season 5 with a guy called oh God, what was his name now? Ray Macias, who actually had more NHL experience than the new guy whose name I can't remember at the moment. And but he was injury prone. Similar situation in terms of we wouldn't be able to afford this guy if he wasn't injury prone. And he came into the clan and lasted 5 games before he was punted. So and that was 5 games in like at least a quarter of a season. So because he was injured all the time. So I have my issues with the new guy in that respect. If you're relying on that guy to be a first line player, it's okay saying you're over your injuries and stuff like that. But if you're injury prone, then we could potentially be without that guy for a large chunk of the season, and that is a big, big concern.
Why he was injured?
Well, I know a couple of I know a few serious injuries, Colin, but this isn't just over 2 years. This is 5 years, mate.
Had it
So
in 2021-22, so he broke both his tibia and fibula in his left leg, right? So if you know things about bones, that's a real bad one, like a real bad one, right? So the seasons following that, he played 35 games in the AHL for Abbotsford Canucks, and then he played for Lavelle Rockets in the AHL and played 22 games. He didn't play in 24-25. Now, I don't know the idea behind that, but if you take that same philosophy, Dupree, who we had last year, who I thought was a real Rolls Royce player, spent 2 seasons out because of a concussion. So I'm not focusing on what he's had done. Like, he could turn up here and play 40, 50 games, right? But every player can pick up an injury at any point. Like, we've had guys
of course
that
I can.
have come in and taken a sore one and been out for 4 or 5 weeks because of their ribs or their leg or whatever. So we need to, if you've got an opportunity to sign a quality guy like that, and you take a chance, because the injury is not as if he has pulled like hamstrings or anything else. He had his leg snapped. That's a real bad break. So and that was only 22, 21, 22, right? So if you look at that season, that was only 3 years ago. And then since he's recovered from that, he's played 35 and granted, and then he took I don't know if he's taken a break or whatever, but he's coming back into the
35
game.
and what's the size of the AHL season then if he's played 35 games though?
I don't know.
Maybe double that.
Again,
That's
maybe
not a
60
lot.
games.
That's
And
not
That's not a
fun.
lot.
It's not a lot of games, mate. So yeah, my worry stands, to be honest with you. My worry stands that we are going to be less short, and we don't have a guy like Reece Kelly to come in and fill a void. in that respect. And in all honesty, the rest of the guys aren't good enough to pick up the slack themselves. So that's my thoughts. I mean, I hope the guy's good, and of course, if he is good and he stays injury free, what's going to happen? They might well end up leaving us for a bigger league. So,
Right,
so that's there's a wow. You've seen him fight once.
Yeah.
In all honesty, and it's not exactly a seasoned veteran fighter, is it? But yeah, good player. Just hope we keep him fit.
Phil, he's
Just
hand up.
to go back to what you said there, Chris, at the start when we were talking about Parry and Martinet, you were just saying that you're no too fussed about us bringing them back because they fit the wage bracket
They
of
fit the structure of,
yeah.
especially Parry, for example. He's a role player. He's going to be quite
So,
cheap.
aye. So my question, I suppose my question is, do you think that's where we're still at? Just signing guys to fit the wage bracket? Well, obviously everybody has to fit the wage bracket, but are we still like not dumpster diving, but are we still doing?
I would say if a fourth liners, that's the kind of quality of fourth line you would get me. And I would say if that fourth liner's going to step up and fight a guy like the Sheffield guy who fought in the playoffs last year, who was like a first or second line D man, albeit playing forward in the night, I'm really happy with that trade off.
Do you think he would be a fourth liner at Cardiff?
I would need to see Cardiff's roster. I need to see them play. They might be a new team,
Well,
and they might be a new team
apparently,
as well.
apparently we were the biggest spenders. Was it last year there? So you would have to say we're the same or better. I just don't see Cardiff signing somebody like that. Do you know what I mean? So if we want to be in that bunch at the top, it's no
Mhm,
good enough.
mhm.
It's just
Fair
no good
point.
enough.
Well, it's a fair point. Well, let's switch gears, talk about the forwards ends. I think, I think my view on the D is that, like Zaker, I think we've got to bring in a bit. I'd be hoping to bring in at least two more D. I think if they brought in a couple of high quality, and
Yeah.
I think I'd be shocked after last year if we didn't, based upon the returning players. But let's move to the forwards. We have had a couple of new additions in the forwards. So one I think Colin might be particularly happy about would be Jarosik. I think I think, well, again, from what there's all this is what you're getting. Apparently, he's quite likes to get in the dirty areas, maybe grind a bit. Looks like a bit of a bigger body. I don't know, he's massive, but maybe a slightly
Sweet
bigger,
too.
yeah, bigger body forward. I know you like that, Colin. So we had him, and then the one that totally, I was on holiday. I was like, why did we sign this guy, Brent Newman? I was like, who the hell is this guy? I was like, I don't know how I missed it because usually I get pinged. It comes up the first thing on my Facebook, right? I was like. I told him, I can't remember, it was in the chat. And I was like, when did we sign this guy? I was like, so
Oh, aye. That was the two of us were like, who's this
I
guy?
don't know what happened. So I don't know what happened with that one, but that's the kind of two additions there. We kind of know we've got some, we're happy with some of the returning players. We've got Schwartz back. We've got obviously Mitchell Hurd, a number of other ones coming back as well. Some of the Brits are returning and Cade Nielsen, but I want to focus in on those two guys and what we think, Colin, in terms of what they'll bring that was maybe different to last year, and then also what we think about in terms of upgrades. So I think what we're looking at here. You look at the players that haven't returned from maybe some of those the top two or three lines. Looks like these guys are going to be certainly settling up there, not down where Paddy will probably be playing. And how do we see these as an upgrade, or what gives us what we excited about, or do we have any concerns?
No, for me, like Brett Newman is definitely an upgrade. Like watching him with Sheffield, he's effective on both power play and penalty kill. So for me, he's a bit of an all-rounder. I personally think he'll play on the same line as Hugo Roy and Jarosik. I reckon that'll be your second line. And for me, Newman's a bit of an all-rounder. He puts decent points up. He's a fairly little guy. I think he's at 5'10", but he is effective. So I think that's a really good signing. I would say, and I know Phil won't want to hear this, he's definitely an upgrade on Finlay and McClelland if you want to compare him against the two of them.
What
So for
compared to
that,
Uli, Colin? What we compared to Uli? Because obviously we've lost our top scorer in Uli. Do you
no,
see
that's
either of
true.
these guys being a guy that
I,
void will
I,
have to be filled?
no, I reckon Uli's replacement's Bryden Buck. right? That's what I think. Or we've maybe still to bring him in.
Yeah.
But for me, I see Yarasek. I mean, he's very energetic, like as in he's a big guy and he moves really. You know, sometimes when we watch like Belfast and Sheffield, and we see them get a 6 foot odd guy and he just glides around the ice. He's very energetic and he skates really well and he hits like a train from what I've seen. So for me, Yarasek's a guy that he's maybe just slightly over 0.5 a game, points a game. But for me, I mean, it depends on where you're going to put him. But for me, I think Newman, if you were comparing him to McClelland, and even if you took the two of them, McClelland and Finlay, and you had Yarasek and Newman, they're an upgrade on both of them for me. But I do agree with what you're saying. Like Uli's goals are one thing, but I think Burke's going to be looked at for that. But we've still got maybe 1, 2 forwards to bring in if they bring in a spare. You could be waiting on that drop down from the bigger and maybe get a bit of a sniper from that aspect and maybe have 1 or 2. We can't just rely on one guy again. It needs to come from all over the ice. But yeah, both of them for me are well, Newman excites me more. Yarasek, I like the attributes he brings, but I don't think from a points production overall, he is going to push for like a top line place, if you would call it that. He's like second, third, if you want to switch it around like that for me.
Yeah, what do you think, Chris? What in terms of quality of these guys?
Yeah, yeah, it does look decent on paper. I do agree with Colin. It looks like an upgrade. Obviously, the Uli thing will play out over time. But in terms of the other guys, I'm quite happy. Certainly Yarasek. I mean, he's 0.5, but he's 0.5 points a game in a far better league than ours. So that could potentially be 0.7, 0.8 potentially in the EIHL per game. So that'd be interesting to see. Yeah, and as for Newman, I'm very happy with that. I remember him playing for Sheffield, and he was very much one of the clutch guys. I think he might even have wore an A on the second year at Sheffield, perhaps. I know that Wah wore an 8 Nottingham, so he did as well in the second season. So there's a ton of experience and a ton of leadership coming in from these guys. So I'm excited to see, what we're going to be like moving forward, but D remains a concern for me.
Yeah, and are you not worried about the Uli goals? Looking at those guys' resumes, you do think like, Colin, maybe it's a bunch of them chipping in rather than us having a real clutch kind of guy, or
Oh, the guys have plenty of experience here, guys that have played at high levels and stuff like that. Hopefully they can. I mean, time will tell, Ross. Certainly at the start of last season, for the first half of the season, goal scoring was an issue for us, and we certainly relied on Uli too much in that respect. So here's hoping that the guys that they have brought in, are better than what we've let go.
Phil, what do you think?
Fully agree with Chris there. I think the returnees are going to. I think me and Chris both watched Seedorf's interview that came out the day. Fully expecting him and every other returnee, imports anyway, to be scoring like they never left when they come back. So there is going to be more goals for them at the start of the year. They realise the importance of getting off to a good start in the Challenge Cup. I think a couple of them had said that. So I would love it if we brought in another marksman to help Herd out with obviously a barrel load of goals. So it's going to be hard to replace Uli's goals, but I'm confident Corey will not just ignore the fact, oh, he's away, and then just bring a hard worker in. I think he knows how the start went last year, so I'm expecting. The returnees are definitely going to do much better, and they'll be familiar with the place, etc., etc. So expecting a better start.
Yeah, I think Newman looks to me like if you could get a version of him who was at Sheffield, like he could be somebody that could be a point a game guy.
Mhm.
I think that I think like you say, Chris. The interesting with the other two is I just think we're Jerry. We've seen it before, right? You know, you look at Yaris and you go, yeah, definitely much better league. Getting point, you could he turn that into, but it's it's whether that translates. Same as Burke, like I'm looking at his resume and going, yeah, he's played AHL. He's got a lot of games. Like if we could get a version of him so that there is upside there. I think the skepticism sometimes we've had these people before, right? You know, who we go, oh,
Mm.
on paper they should, and it just for whatever reason it doesn't translate, and they can go back to these leagues and they can start scoring again, right? I think this is what's going to be the
But
interest.
look at the resumes of the team that had last year and stuff like that. In actual fact, we signed a lot of the resumes of these players were actually guys on the slide, you know, and your bigger teams. That's why perhaps they weren't in for them, you know, and they go like the guys who are a bit younger, hungrier, etc.
Yeah, I think what it does bring though, the one thing I would say about and I know Chris, you mentioned this, and Colin, I know that you're definitely a big proponent of this, and we've had some debates in the past. But I think what I would say if I look at the some of the DNA of these guys, I think there's a bit more experience, and I do think there's a bit more maybe physicality, right, about us. It looks like the team. I'd be interested to see what I think when I see them on the ice, but it looks like certainly the forwards, like some of the smaller guys, Phil, as you said, right, have been replaced by guys that are. I think Jarosik kind of sends a signal there, like I'll be interested.
Two stone heavier.
Well, again,
Well, if you look at,
yeah, yeah. I mean, I like having
no,
these,
just a,
a balance of fast guys. Sorry, Chris, go ahead. I was going to say I like a balance of like.
no, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, no,
I was
you're.
just going to say, you
Yeah.
know, if Colin's right about your second line, you're going for Uli, McClellan, and Finlay, who are all relatively lightweight guys to a second line of Wah,
Yeah.
Newman, and Jarosik. And there's two guys out of those three that are big guys, you know.
260
So,
kilos of a line.
That's what I mean. That was my point,
exactly,
Chris.
mate,
I was like,
exactly.
it feels like a bit of a DNA identity shift. The worry for me is like that was our scoring line, right? In terms, I know Uli a lot was on his shoulders, and I do agree that the other two in that line could have contributed more, and maybe they would have grown into it if they'd been brought back in another season, like you say, Phil. But I think that's the thing that I'd be interested. I'm hope what I hope is because again I just feel like I can't go back. Like I just I know what you mean, Phil. I'm like I don't want us to go be looking at our team and going our forward line is the slowest forward line in the league. I can't do that again. I've been there too many times, and it's so unexciting. I know there's different ways to win hockey games, and I know we can be fit, and there's teams that do that in the NHL that are physical teams. My worry is though, see if it's at too much the sacrifice of that threat of some speed.
Newman's quick.
Who?
Newman's a fast skater. So say Newman, he he's one he's like a kind of like, not so much like Stupka that we had before, but he is fast. And the boy, I'm saying Roy, he's a big lad, but he skates well. But Newman, I was going to mention this just quickly while I remember. Newman, when he was with Sheffield, right now he played 95 games. He had
Yeah,
79 points,
just shy of a point a game. Yeah,
and he had 12 penalty minutes in 2 seasons.
yeah.
Now that's a guy you tend to find with the quicker guys like that because they're fast enough. They don't give away any stupid penalties.
Well, Finlay did.
Well, maybe he wasn't that quick, or maybe he wasn't that good, Phil.
Quick, I think.
But
Yeah, listen, I hope you're saying you're promising me Newman's quick. You mentioned Stupka, mate. Stupka's the quickest player I've ever seen at fun.
That's
Yeah, but
no,
without any end
he's
product.
not like Stupka. Like that's what I'm saying. He's
Yeah,
not that, but
Stupka
he's
was.
fast. Like he is a quicker skater than what we're maybe used to, if you know what I mean. But
it's,
the boy Roy is reasonably quick for his size, and that's what the guy Yarosik, from what I've seen of him, he seems to skate very well. So yeah, there's a part of me optimistic, but there's still a part of me has the whole stop because every time I go optimistic, it slaps me in the face come Christmas.
That's it.
So I'm kind of trying to remain like statistical about this one and looking at it and try and see where the pieces of the puzzle can fit.
Yeah, Phil, go for it, and then I've got a final point. We'll go.
just going to, well, talking about replacing the goals. Like Hugo Roy only got 14, I think it was last year, Murph says in the interview. Now, the season before that, at Nottingham, we get 30 odd. So I know that obviously
Yeah,
he's went down the way, but he's got it in his locker to score 30 goals a season in the Elite League. So you just need to hope he rediscovers the form that he did the year previous. And Murph kind of made a good point, and amongst a lot of
Waffle.
like poor interviews, that I think like one of them was in the final. See the final,
Yeah.
the playoff final. So clutch moments, big moments in games. If you can get 14 game deciding goals, then that's somebody that can win you stuff.
He
Do you know what I mean?
scores more than he assists. So in
Um,
every league, the only
it,
time he
it,
didn't was with Kansas City Mavericks, where he assisted in 26 with 18. But with Nottingham Panthers, he had 24 and 24. And last year, he had 12 goals and 9 assists. But he was also the assistant captain in Nottingham last year. Or he was wearing
Yeah.
an A. But that might have hampered it. I don't know. But I think he played a slightly different role last year with Nottingham, from what I was reading online.
what
But
you wouldn't change somebody's role if they scored 30 goals.
I think when we brought him in, when we brought him in, did we not say he was playing injured a lot
Free
last year as
centre.
well? I think.
I think they
I
said
think
that. Yeah.
I think they said he was also carrying an injury for a lot of last season,
Mhm.
but he just played through it. I'm pretty sure that's what they said when we signed him actually.
He
So that could have hampered his obviously scoring prowess as well.
Yeah, he said in his interview himself that his biggest attribute was his speed. So he must be quick because you wouldn't say that. Otherwise, you're just
I
making a
hope he
complete
is.
ass of yourself.
I hope he is. I think a big part of this is like you say, we all know it's a lot about chemistry, right? Getting the right guys with the right gear. Again, you can't have all the snipers. You want to find out who your snipers are, who your setup guys are. There's definitely chemistry. I think the reason I'm probably a bit more positive than negative overall is that I think this very much feels like these signings in terms of like size and DNA. Some of these guys feels like a Corey Nielsen team. I feel like some of the guys have moved out, so it feels a very authentic to the coach in terms of what he's about. So again, whether that proves out to be winning hockey in this league, given what we're up against in the other teams, that will be we'll wait to find out. But I think that's why I'm probably net in terms of people that haven't come back and some of the people we've brought in. I definitely am leaning in the positive side, but to your point, Colin, not going to get carried away because we have before. But listen, we're going to get to the off ice things. We've got one major topic we'll finish
Can
on.
I
Um,
can I say as well just before we do that,
yeah,
Ross? I think what
sorry, yeah,
needs to be discussed as well is the fact that we are worried about the D, but I think we've upgraded in nets. I think that will also play a big part in our season
massive,
as well.
massive
I
part.
think
Yeah,
our goalie is our goalie flattered to receive last year. Turned up in the playoffs, yes, but generally speaking, was pretty average to poor
yeah,
for
Herd
most of
no
the
say that.
season.
Herd said when you want to win,
He
bring it
did,
in.
mate. He did.
So,
He
like,
did. He also said we upgraded in goals, Colin. He was
but
yeah.
very
do you know,
specific on that.
maybe just a quick point, Ross. I know you want to move
The
on, right?
biggest
But
piece of the jigsaw.
do you see the bit for me? This is the first season that I can remember in a long time where we've retained quite a core of the players.
I'm
So if you actually
11.
look at the core, like if you look at what we've brought in, what six new imports and a new goalkeeper. So if you look at that as a core, this is as long as this is the biggest core I can remember us returning with in a long, long time.
yeah. That's because we're not moved on
I
the
know
boat as well. But it's like, yeah,
that
it's
I'm
yeah.
not that doesn't mean it's good or bad, but it is the most.
Yeah, and listen, one final thing to mention, there was the announcement of the goaltending coach and team consultant, Fabian Dallin, who is applied his trade in the Dell, DEL and Dell 2. So yeah, he's coming with a change there as well. So maybe that's another.
Ben coach, isn't he? So he's actually going to be here because last year the boy was remote.
That's right. So that's interesting. But listen, let's move to the off ice stuff now. So we get to that. I think there's one main thing to talk about. There's a bunch of stuff we can talk about the interviews and stuff like that. But we'll maybe get to that another time. Um, Again, it wouldn't be a clan off season without some. Obviously, everything around ticketing just seems to be difficult for the clan. I don't, and it's tough because no other clubs figured out how to do this properly. So we are pioneering this, idea of selling tickets and having season ticket holders and things like that. So I know it's really tricky to get this stuff right. Um, but yeah, I mean, Q fan meltdown. To be fair, I mean, one thing I say, clan fans always step up for a fan meltdown over these things, and make sure that how they feel is well known. But this was really centered around season tickets and then the Challenge Cup element of the season ticket as well. So yeah, Phil, I'll come to you first in this one. Um, what was your thoughts and feel? Is this a, I think I do feel sometimes like maybe the clan ownership and the people that aren't like feel like there's fan overreaction to these things. Was this a fan overreaction, or was this another cock up from the club in the way that they handle it?
What
Yeah.
what was this? The sale of the season tickets?
So there was two things.
Moving the date?
There was a date move, but then there was a challenge cup. It was worded really poorly in terms of you're a season ticket holder, right? That you can secure challenge cup tickets, but it was like the pricing. There was a whole miscommunication around like the parameters of what that was, and then what happened is people then got blindsided and said, "Wait a minute, I thought that this was included at a price," and it was
Oh,
like, "No, it's not. It's."
aye, was this the
Bronze.
pen? Aye, this was the thing it said £60 to renew your seat, but if you were gold, it was actually 80 or something.
Exactly, and they bumped up the price. So there's this whole thing. Yeah, exactly.
Gold sections now this size as opposed to just the middle bit, and it's like gold, wee bit of silver, bronze. So it's like the majority of the arena's gold now.
That's it. Yeah, I think the bronze seats are at Pizza Hut. So you watch on the telly. So hi, I think that's what's happened. So, but I listen. Nobody out Pizza
Lord
Hut.
of the Isles.
Love it. I love Pizza Hut. Love a Pizza Hut buffet. But yeah. So Phil, what do you think? Is it? I mean, look. I mean,
Well,
yeah.
we always wanted to be in that top four, mate. See, for cock-ups like this, we are sitting firmly at the top, mate, and nobody's catching us, and there's not even a puck drop. What it's just a nightmare. It's just a complete nightmare. I never bought them, so that's probably how you had to remind me. I'd forgot about it.
Aye.
But they need to. I don't know. Are they not checking like
I
getting
think it
somebody
said, Phil,
else
it
in the
said
office to read it, make sure
renew
everything makes sense?
for £60, but I think it was meant to say maybe from, like, was that? But again, and I know that there's again grammar spell check like might have picked that up, but I mean maybe not. But again, given like you say, this
Yeah.
things happened in the past, it just blows your mind how things like this can happen again and again.
So, see the likes of that, Ross. Like for me, that's a general manager cock up, which is a new guy
Yep.
basically. Um, he's the one overseeing all that, so to be it needs to be like crystal clear, see, especially when there's money involved in it. Taking a second lot of money off of people, you can't make mistakes with stuff like that. It's no use, and it just gets folks backs up. And don't even get me started on fucking Squishy Gate. Like, see with the sweeties and all that push. Like, yeah, like, I'd rather have no news than that news. Like, I don't like to hear that stuff. Like, that's not even worth a post.
Well,
That's
what did they
something,
post? I didn't watch that one. Tell me.
right? So obviously, I think a couple of other teams in the league had made big signings on the same day. And then Clan posted, "Oh, we've got a new sweetie supplier. We're selling. It's going to be selling squishies. See the squishies, the sweets,
Yeah, I do
squishies
like
or
a squishy.
whatever.
I don't mind one.
Squishies and new brands of crisps
Fancy
and stuff
crisps,
like that. New brands of crisps and new brands of pies.
Oh,
And
I'm
I'm
just
just
seeing it now.
like,
Swizzles, squashies, prime
that
reveal
is,
packages.
mate. Like
That's just,
you.
mate. I didn't even see that one. Wow, wow. Do you know what? Do you
Like,
know what? And nothing about the price of a Madry, right? Which is the thing that really that's fucking
Oh,
news,
aye.
right? If the, listen,
That's going to go out again,
Listen,
guaranteed.
if that would be in the news, we've got a new supplier, the price of a pint is coming down. I don't mind the post, right? Or
yeah.
listen, we've got a partnership with Nando's and Pizza Hut and you can get it in the arena now. Talk about that. I'm in,
Yeah.
right?
Take for yourselves. See, being a guy that doesn't drink and diabetic, that's like crack for diabetics. I
Colin,
love that post.
they could
Swizzle
just have.
all day.
But Colin, what if we're replacing these swizzle sticks for your Skittles? You can't get your Skittles anymore, mate. What are you
They
going to do
won't
with
do
that?
that. No, they wouldn't do that.
They
But
could have just sent
I'm
you
Well,
a
I'm
you
all
don't
for the
know.
new sweeties and crisps. I'm cool with that. Not with the post, but I'm all cool for new stuff like that because the
They
beer
didn't.
doesn't bother me.
They didn't need to post that on Twitter. They could just have
No,
text
I
you
agree with
straight
that. I'm only
text.
winding you up.
Just text you. you're the only person that affects, and then we don't need to read that shite.
There you go.
Yeah, total disaster that. I had
Mass
to.
media sales are the reason we've got that jumbotron up there now. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's true, mate. That's true.
Chris, any thoughts on the Challenge Cup ticketing, the gold seat, that whole
Yeah,
saga?
as you know, living quite far away now, I'm mostly relying on webcasts and stuff like that rather than being there in person. So I don't really have that much skin in the game, Ross. However, I do appreciate that there's a lot of Clan fans very upset over it.
Yeah. Okay. Colin.
Yeah, I just think that there's a small part of me feels that every time, regardless of the season prior, Clan fans always stand up all the time, right? We've had some shocking seasons in the past, but they've still sold over 2,000 season tickets every season, right? You sometimes need to give a little bit back. And for me, increasing the gold seats all the way almost to the corner, for people that have sat there for God knows how many seasons and pay X amount of money, that increase might be, and I know different things do different bits, right? But if you're paying more, that might affect more folk, especially if you've got a family of 4 or 5 tickets. So for me, one, I don't know why they changed it. Two, the the thing with the Challenge Cup, if they've made that error, it's a bit like if you put the wrong price in something in a shop, you need to honour that price. Now they would have got much more kudos if they turned around and said, "Look, guys, we hold our hands up. We've made a mistake here. We'll honour it at £60 for every day, and that's it, right?" But what happens is when you buy the tickets now, the only thing that differs is probably the booking fee. There isn't much of a saving as buying the bundle. So for me, marketing wise, it's pretty poor. But I think when you look at it, and the silver seats are like just narrow, and the bronze ones are at the back. The gold seating part of it, I think, should have been better thought through. And I think it's maybe, like I said, you have a lot of people that will sit in these silver areas that have sat there for 10 seasons plus, and they've followed the club through thick and thin, through buyovers, through shocking seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And just to give a little bit back, like not even get, you don't change it, or just say, look, see, in the next year or so, we're going to be doing this to gold. So for this season, give people a bit of prior warning, but to throw it out when you're giving somebody like a shotgun wedding window is pretty poor for me. And you're buying all these games as well to add to that without knowing the fixture list. So the fixture list has come out as well, and there's a lot of midweek games this year for Clan, a lot.
Very interesting about the Friday thing, isn't it? The rationale behind the
Ah,
Friday.
there's loads. So for me, people have put their money in because I know it's a negotiation and I know you need to whatever these days, but people have put a lot of money in, extra money now because that's increased, and you're now finding people might not be able to go because there's what is it, 16 or whatever, 18 midweek games this year.
You
Whereas
know what
you
it's
look
all
at
about? That's probably, I mean, you know, you saw the announcement about the arena that they're basically doing a deal for bands that use the arena now. They're trying to get the band scene back there. In terms, I think that their merch and stuff, they don't take any cut. So there's an incentive that the arena's putting on to get concerts there again. And I wonder if that's part of the reason why the fixtures and the midweek things, right? Because I think the other thing is a lot of venues of, I don't know like what the capacity for Braehead would be for a concert. I don't know if anyone's been there, you know, the capacity, I'm not sure, but I think it sits in that it's certainly not the high.
4 or 5 thousand.
5,000 odd,
Aye, something so, so
5,300 or
so
something.
but you look at who they're competing with, you're probably talking about places like the Academy, the Barrowlands, getting weekend slots there. It'll
Mhm.
be hard for bands, a lot of midweek gigs. So I wonder if there's an incentive to say we can give you the Saturday night when people are going to be, you know, want to go in the sauce and that. So I wonder if it's connected. But look, see, my point is to your like, Colin, what I would have done if it was me. If it was me, I would say, look, you know who, like, if you're imagine you're Chris, and Chris has been, I know that you've obviously moved, but imagine you're Chris, you've been going since day dot, and you're a season ticket holder. Like people like that, they should just go, look, I think if it's a new season ticket, I think they can kind of do what they want. I do think it's kind of fair game because you know what the price is, and you pay the price, you don't pay the price. I do think that there is they should have considered incentivizing a bit of loyalty, certainly for
Loyalty.
a period of time to say, look, you know what, Colin, you've had that seat for 4 or 5 years, right? you stay locked in at your silver pricing, right? And maybe it's for a period of time. Maybe they have to change it. But I think that I think the gesture. Like I think the problem is there never seems to be a gesture, right? Even when these things go wrong. And to me, it's like you're at a restaurant and they cock your order or something goes wrong. You don't need all your money back. See if they just go, look, there's a glass of wine. There's a
We'll
coffee.
remove it for the bill or
I,
something.
I
Aye.
just, you're just to me, saying is Colin, see, thing, even if they do something that doesn't even justify,
Yeah.
like the
Here's a
gesture.
couple of tickets for the players walking in the hang downstairs or something like that. But there's
That's what I
nothing like
mean.
that.
Exactly. You know what I mean? They could. There's definitely creative things they could have thought around. You know that 100% there would have been low cost to no cost for them to ease some of this and manage it. And I think that it's the expansion from like gold. Like it's gone crazy. Like it's not like they've just gradually. It's like the whole
20% of the
arena.
arena.
Yeah, and you're kind of like, well, I mean, see, to be honest, I'd be pretty annoyed if I'm paying, if I'm one of those gold tickets, it's like one of these sides. I go, well, that's nowhere near as good as that seat bang in the middle. Like, it's just not as good a seat. So, I just think it's interesting. But yeah, look, I mean, at some point, I hope we just graduate out of this, and I think that especially those fans I think what the club have to realize, every club needs them. It's the stalwarts, regardless how bad things are going, they renew every year, right? They're there every year, and they're the ones that I think you don't want to take for granted. You get the people that will drift in and out and come back and stuff like that. And when the times are good, they might be back, and they might not, be around as much when things aren't going so well. But I think there's definitely a lesson to be learned there from the club. But anyway, um, it is what it is. But listen, boys, I think that'll wrap it. I think for tonight. Good to catch up. I think. Look, we'll get to another one hopefully in a couple, 2 or 3 weeks again. We're getting to the preseason games. I'm really looking forward to getting a first look at the team. That to me is like always a big moment for us. We actually start to have some, I do find it a little bit frustrating just looking at like, past resumes and stuff like that because I'm like I want to see it with my own eyes and then, start to make those assessments of what we think we've got on the roster. And yeah, hopefully that'll be something that makes us feel we had a pretty good preseason in Germany last season, to be honest. So let's hope for more of the same out there. But yeah, listen, thanks to everyone for listening. We will be back soon, and as we always say, boys, Mon The Clan, the mighty Phil.
On a clan.